Fourscore and a stroke ago. I tried really hard, though.
You just can't leave our producer alone, can you?
To be fair, you started us down this path because you kept talking about the insulation.
These assholes.
What asshole?
Well, at least we know asshole comes by it genetically.
Yeah. Well, no, we know that in my case it was both nature and nurture.
Yeah, well.
Good evening. It is Wednesday, June 8th, 2022. Welcome back to BoomerRexTonight, your nearly daily source for news and politics. I'm RisenLadyHeathen Hassel. What separates our show from other Millennial news podcasts?
So I'd say I'm the seventh asshole son of a seventh whatever, but then I'm afraid that after we fall into theocracy, I'll get burned as a witch or some other thing.
Yeah. But in any case, we have at least two assholes.
It's true.
We have a boomer, and not just any boomer. We have Mr. BoomerRex himself.
We have an asshole boomer. That's me.
Hi,
You two eat, sleep, and breathe politics that I'm learning. That's three unique perspectives we share along with the facts from our literal round table. All right. Did you want to say?
As Boy Scout pointed out, that but you're self-aware about it, that you understand the truth of the American thing about to whom much is given, much is expected, and that.
And I have tried
Yeah.
to live up to that.
Well,
I certainly haven't in its entirety. But.
Simply having that phrase in your toolbox, right, also requires that the reverse be true. Right, that to the kids getting fucked, I don't expect a lot of loyalty.
Yeah.
On the other hand, that's why we build most of the things that they also, right, poor people in America can't betray America to her foreign enemies very well. I mean, they can. It's not a fucking challenge. But.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
All right, let's dig right into our headlines. The Venus cloud discontinued?
Discontinuity.
Discontinuity.
I'd never heard of this.
No.
All right. So there's this thing on Venus right now. It's called the Venus cloud discontinuity. It's been seen before, right? And it's really interesting. It's like a storm, okay?
Like a real storm?
It's a linear storm, right?
Like
so
a-
it's
like a
just
big
a
line.
line moving through the atmosphere at 200 miles an hour.
There's no good way to make a bullshit story about how it's a monster laying down taking a
Yeah,
nap.
right. So anyway,
Geological feature, baby?
I don't think anybody knows what causes them. They're looking at it. It's happened before.
Yeah, I'm just wanting the answer to come out of fluid dynamics. So I'm picturing
Yes.
sort of rogue storm or rogue wave generators, but
Yeah, or a kink, right? Yeah. So shedding a vortex, that sort of thing, right? So this is the horizontal equivalent of a dust devil. But anyway, this is 5,000 miles long, linear feature, moving at 200 miles an hour through the atmosphere of Venus. So we're talking about one hell of a storm.
yeah.
So
Right.
it's like that spot on Jupiter that is that storm just forever, the forever storm, only it's a line that goes around.
Well, and it's not
Venus.
there all the time. It shows
Yeah.
up sometimes.
Oh,
But the
so
other thing,
it's not continuous.
I know.
No.
It lied to us.
That's weird.
no, this is
Yeah, but
the Venus cloud discontinuity.
The Jupiter storm isn't as what
The
you're
Jupiter
saying?
storm ebbs and flows, but I don't think it's ever gone away during the period we've got observations for.
Okay, cool. Hey, look at that, America. One more thing you didn't lie about.
Yet.
So, for a long time, it was known as the Great Red Spot, and then for a while, it was known as the, Pink Spot, and now it's back to being the Great Red Spot. So,
Fuck, now we may actually have to do an episode about Pluto.
okay, so anyway, the other interesting thing about Venus is that the atmosphere on Venus rotates 60 times as fast as the surface of the planet, none of which makes any sense to me at all.
No, that's
Right.
weird.
So anyway, one of the thoughts on this cloud discontinuity is that it's a mechanism for transferring energy up in the atmosphere to make it go. So anyway, just kind of
That much
interesting.
closer to the sun? No.
Yeah, they're that much closer to the sun. They're way closer to the sun.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. They're hot and miserable.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere is infinitely denser than the Earth's atmosphere.
Well, it
So-
would have to be to some extent, wouldn't it? Being that close to the sun.
Well,
wouldn't it-
Mercury's much closer to the sun and has no atmosphere.
Yeah, that's all.
Oh, that's all aliens. They did what we're doing to ours, and that's
Oh,
what
okay. They
happened,
sucked it
yeah.
off and
Yeah.
took away. Okay.
They ruined it by, fucking being dumb like we
Yeah,
are.
and all the people that lived there just couldn't run fast enough.
Yeah, pretty
There's a
much.
critical number
Or
of
they were
small people
carried
who can
off
take
as
over the internet.
slaves.
We're all gonna die.
Yep.
We just
Aliens came
random
and took the
conspiracy
race.
shit
We're
now?
never gonna find any. They cleared it all out. They blew it all up. That's what happened.
So anyway.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Turns out, at the same time, the NASA Perseverance rover has a pet rock that it's been carrying around now for 5.3 miles.
That's awesome.
Right. Now, there have been hitchhiking rocks before, but this one's not causing any trouble. It's just riding on the wheel rim, and I suppose it thunks and plunks and whatever.
Hey, take
But
nothing
it now holds the Martian record for hitchhiking, so which is 5.3 miles, and it hasn't fallen off yet. So way to go, pet rock.
Right. And it fits well with the human rule about leave nothing but footprints, take nothing but pictures, and steal one pocket rock.
Yeah. I understand when we do that in the deep ocean, it turns out different than that.
Oh, I love it. We are Uber for a couple of trenches on accident because we were doing the science stuff. So we're
Yeah.
trying very careful not to pollute this environment.
Right.
We send our little robot submersibles down.
Yep.
Lo and behold, the little creatures jump onto your ship and ride you to the next one.
Cool.
That's I
How do we know that? Do you know?
I saw it on some like fluff
Okay.
news piece. And
Okay.
Oh, because they've got cameras on
Yeah.
every angle of these things.
well,
so
and
I'm
they're
sure-
finding them in the wrong trench.
Yeah. So you used to be in the other
Yeah.
trench. What the hell are you doing here?
There weren't worms here last
We're
time.
colonizing.
Yeah, no, they're
Yeah.
invading.
Okay. Well,
Red in tooth and claw.
yeah.
That's funny. Anyway, Brookings places retired general on leave amid FBI probe.
I'm so sick of all this shit. There's no fucking words for how disappointed I am in what should have been leadership, right? So,
This is
retired.
gonna be some fucking Air Force general or something, some army dude.
Yeah, this is a retired 4-star Marine general.
Oh, burn him down. Set all of his skin on fire separately from the rest of his body.
Yep, named
Nope.
John Allen. Right, and he was placed on leave after amid a federal investigation into his role in an illegal lobbying campaign on behalf of Qatar. There's a big shock. A country with lots of money has an illegal lobbying campaign. Oh, yeah.
Can
Now
we
tell
skin
me
him
it
alive
ain't
to gain his
so.
power?
That dude needs to be investigated violently. Because the history on Marines that get out and go look for comfortable work and stuff
Uh-huh.
is fuck off gross.
Yeah, that's true. Like Kelly.
Yep.
So anyway, the Brookings announcement came a day after the Associated Press reported on new court filings that show the FBI recently seized his electronics.
Good.
So, as part of a probe, and detailed behind-the-scenes efforts to help Qatar influence U.S. policy in 2017, when there was a big diplomatic crisis. Remember, Qatar was at odds with everybody.
Oh, that was weird. We should look into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, he, of course, has denied any wrongdoing. I'm sure that's true. The federal investigation involving Allen has already ensnared Richard G. Olson, a former ambassador to the United Arab Emirates and Pakistan, who pleaded guilty to federal charges last week. And Ahmad Zuberi, a prolific political donor who's now serving a 12-year prison sentence for
weird.
corruption. So several members of Congress have been interviewed. And the FBI agent who filled out the affidavit in support of the search warrant said there was substantial evidence that Allen had knowingly broken a foreign lobbying law and had made false statements and withheld incriminating documents.
Yikes.
So anyway, his work on behalf of Qatar involved traveling to Qatar, meeting with the country's top officials, offering them advice on how to influence U.S. policy, as well as promoting Qatar's point of view to top White House officials and Congress.
Oh.
So
Can we go
again,
do this? No, shut
I'm
up. We have
tired
to
of
go be
criminals.
crookedy foreign agents.
Yeah.
How
Just
do you
ridiculous.
generate documents in this country? What the fuck's wrong with you? Like, if you're a consultant, you go there, you work in an office, sure, you can get whatever documents out of a foreign government you want. Good ass luck.
Yep.
And I don't do this, internet, but god damn, this is the shit that pisses me off. No one taking pride in their craft. Because we always hear it, if I was going to be the best ditch digger, I was going to be the best ditch digger, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
If you're going to be this kind of scum, if you're going to go full Manafort, do it goddamn right.
Yep.
No, I remember early on in the global war on terror, somebody suggesting that the CIA was using the mercenaries as a way to sort of
Hide their shock troops.
well, and get the budget out of their pocket.
Yeah.
Right? Because day on day they can be out training. Who cares? But you have them in their Rolodex, and it puts them in more rooms than they're likely to be in.
Yeah.
And I'd be more curious at this class of shithead.
It's more common now.
Well, and that guy's got more influence than any of the people working security on stuff.
Oh, shit,
Like,
yes.
I would do both.
Yeah.
But no, I just because this whole region is bad for that.
Yeah. Anyway, no, and again, there's a reason they called it Londongrad. Was because the Russians had bought a whole bunch of British politicians.
Yeah. no,
Shit, there's a
100%.
Russian oligarch sitting in the House of Lords.
Yep.
Right.
And just disgusting.
A fight in Russian oligarchs did Cyprus's economy.
Yeah.
By the same token, most of Greece's problem was done by bored German money. So, but a lot of that German money started in Russian hands.
Oh, yeah.
All right. EU deal links minimum wage to decent standard of living.
So the goal there is really worthwhile. 21 of the members of the EU have struck a deal that will link the minimum wage in their country to the standard of living, right? The cost of living. 6 of those of the EU's 27 members don't have a minimum wage. And this agreement does not require them to introduce one, although it would seem like a good idea.
Right.
But of the 21 who signed up, they're required to follow common rules, but not the same rates, right? They can use the local cost of living as a guide.
Sure.
So an estimated 1 in 10 workers across the EU earns minimum wage. But the levels vary dramatically from country to country. And so the idea here is to, look at the local cost of living and adjust the minimum wage accordingly.
Yeah, that sounds fair to me.
So anyway, we'll wait and see, what's going on. Some of these rates are not insanely high. 12 euros an hour. Yeah, okay. 13 euros an hour. Yeah, okay. But anyway, at least they're thinking in the right ways. And what?
I was looking at the GSA per diem works out to be $19.30 if you figure on an 8-hour day.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway,
No, that's great, and I think that America can get off its ass and start thinking about similar things.
Yeah.
I would look at the average cost of living in America, make that the federal, and then states can adjust higher if need to based on living expenses in their state.
Yep.
But anyway.
we need some sort of floor. It's what the other side is what makes basic universal income, but I'm not sold on it yet.
That is an interesting idea, though.
It is, but done right and done the way I've heard it discussed right at the national level also means getting rid of all of your safety net infrastructure, which I can see why if you don't need it, that's cool, but you're going to need...
But I know the Republican plan is to get rid of the infrastructure and never put in place the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or attack the other, or never, let the other fall as out of code as we have
absolutely.
So, anyway.
All right. China's drone carrier hints at swarm ambitions for Pacific.
Oh my god, China, stop being who I want us to be.
So here's a 300-foot vessel that carries a whole bunch of drones, plus autonomous underwater and surface vehicles, and it is itself an autonomous vehicle. So anyway, right now it's listed as a research vessel. So anyway.
I think we may have played that game before when we were figuring out that it doesn't count if you're carrying dudes holding onto your skis.
Yeah.
A research vessel, like all those whaling ships they send out that are researching whales by murdering them because they're weighing stomach samples and shit.
And then
China, you're really good at this game, but fuck right off.
Yeah, but I imagine.
And of course, we sent a research vessel out to mine the little mineral nodules and it came back with half a Russian submarine.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Well, you throw nets in the ocean, you just find the damnedest things.
Yeah.
I was no shit on a deep sea fishing thing. Someone caught a motherfucking boot.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
no, I
And I mean, you think about it, and the cliche of it and all, and yeah, cool, that's nice.
Did it have a foot in it?
No.
Okay.
That's still astronomical because you can picture the biggest boot you want.
Yeah.
That ocean is it's one of those ones that humans just can't do the scale. It's like when you ask humans to think about space, and you really do start getting into things like, well, our solar system is a walnut in the middle of Idaho.
Yeah.
And like that's cool. That's a useful like you
Yeah.
can kind of hold that in your head, but that's
Right.
not any actual granular
Yeah.
feeling for that.
Well, and I had a similar experience when I went deep sea fishing one time, where somebody caught something like a
This is
like
what
a
I'm
boot
saying.
or something. Yeah. And the thing is we were bottom trolling, so
Yeah.
you're bound to
Yeah,
pick
it
up
can
trash and stuff doing that. Well, it was off the New England coast.
Yeah.
Like there's fucking lot of trash out there.
And that's gonna be a lot more what I'm guessing is the right.
yeah, we went out.
Until you go at a fair distance, you're still in the human trash pile.
Yeah, we went out near Hampton Beach, so, and I think it was up by Rye, but anyway,
Yeah.
we went out near, so yeah, there's a lot of trash.
A lot of
up
shit
there.
on the ground out there.
Yeah. All right, was it always a grift? This seems
That's
like
usually
an
my
obvious question. Yeah, obvious answer.
So, yeah. You remember some of our previous research ships, like Glomar Explorer and Project Azorian?
Yeah.
Okay. So I knew a guy who worked on the Glomar Explorer,
Nice.
right? And he had a plaque, as like Employee of the Month or something, related to the Glomar Explorer. And it actually had one of the metallic nodules that they were supposedly trying to recover, right, was glued to this wooden plaque, right? So the whole thing was a disinformation campaign. Everything
Yeah.
they did.
Oh, we
Was-
used to be good at this.
Yeah.
And I will say that that's probably coming out of one of the corners I still trust. Like I've got a weirdly amount of Office of Naval Intelligence can probably get it done.
Hold on. I am completely lost right now,
Yep.
and I'm sure that some of our viewers are as well.
Have to tell
What
the story.
the fuck are you talking about?
Glomar Explorer
Oh.
was a vessel designed to raise a lost Russian submarine that the Russians couldn't find, and we had found.
Uh-huh.
It's the wreck of the K-129.
Okay.
So we covered that by saying that it was an experimental deep sea mining operation, which was after these metallic nodules that were, just like baseball sized.
What are
These little baseball sized conglomerates of metal
where do you
ore
find
Deep sea
those?
mining.
on the
shit.
bottom of the sea.
Oh. So this is a real thing you can go out and find.
You could go,
Basically.
you could go out and find. It's not economical.
Yeah.
But that was the cover for the Glomar Explorer, which was a big ship that was designed to raise K-129.
Ah.
So anyway, and the project was called Azorian. So anyway, they went out, but it was all, just black as hell, right? So all of their stuff was disinformation about what they were out there for, and they played up their, deep sea mining and so forth and so on. And again, they even had some of these nodules to put on plaques for various people.
Oh.
So and I have personally seen it. It was cool. So anyhow,
Was it like round, or is it like a
they're
mineral
roundish.
deposit?
I'm not
Like,
sure why.
It could just be the way the mineral, or
No, or it
instead
had
of
been
the
rolled
metal.
around on the seafloor or whatever,
Oh,
right?
interesting.
So,
Okay. Cool.
But the fact that we bothered to backstop it enough to have manufactured.
or collected
Yeah.
some of them to
May
use.
as well, you're down there.
All
Yeah.
right. So this leads into, if it is a grift.
Was it always a
the
grip?
first one was it always gripped?
Well, that was the one I just said.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay. We haven't got
So,
far.
one of former President Donald Trump's favorite election conspiracists promised to find evidence of fraud, but instead diverted more than $1 million of donation to herself, right, from her nonprofit and her longtime partner and attorney.
That's always a bad idea.
So the former
Is
president
3 people
hailed
or is that 2 people?
True the Vote founder Catherine Engelbrecht from his campaign rallies and invited her to Mar-a-Lago and so forth. So the PTA mom turned Tea Party activist efforts to turn up fraud. They were the subject of the feature film 2000 Mules, if that gives you any idea of how real this investigation was.
And
So,
I bet they
anyway.
charged a lot.
So they were looking into this nodule thing
No.
that was.
No,
talking
they
about
were
a whole other
looking
thing.
into the stolen election. These are,
The nodule thing ties into the deep sea submersibles.
right.
Okay. So we were talking about something different than I thought.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're talking about
Yeah.
was it always a Grift? Okay,
Right.
okay, I'm caught up now. I got very confused.
Okay, anyway, a new investigation has turned up evidence of self-dealing by her nonprofit. Yeah, there's a
Oh, no.
shock. And Lori Stryton, who's the executive director of Charity Watch, reviewed the findings and said, this looks really bad. So, anyway, revealed that True the Vote gave questionable loans to Engelbrecht and awarded contracts to companies run by her and her partner, Greg Phillips, who also serves on the organization's board. And within days of receiving a $2.5 million donation to stop the certification of the 2020 election, gave much of that money to a company owned by the couple and the law firm owned by conservative James Bopp.
Fair.
So, anyway, with any luck, we'll get a criminal investigation going. We'll see.
All right, and if it is a grift, now we're on to that.
Right. So, this becomes more and more and more, it appears, to be a feature rather than a bug of the loony right-wing shit. And
Oh yeah,
that's
they're
not
just
a
stealing
big...
money.
Well, it's not a big surprise, right?
No.
If you look back at the Fox viewership, right, and you look at why Fox does what it does and who watches Fox, and if you look at Fox's advertisers, you realize that Fox's stock in trade is to deliver the gullible to those who shear them.
Right.
Right? Okay. So out of that grew all of the right-wing nonsense, right? Just organization after organization. Build the wall. Oh, wait a minute.
Paying for that, trip and whatever, and all that money disappearing. Yeah.
So it begins to look more and more like grift is a feature, not a bug in these right-wing organizations.
Of course, they're a feature.
Right. So anyway, it opens a new pathway to deal with these right-wing organizations, which is
Oh shit.
use
Assume they're
RICO.
all
Yep.
fake.
RICO
Use
charges.
RICO, racketeering influenced.
It's one of the few things
What's-
the feds are good at. So it's 2 things. It is the only effective tool we've ever had against organized crime.
Yep.
The other thing is it's kind of bullshit charges. Like it's not, because it really is crimes and stuff, but it's
Yeah.
what we caught like Al Capone with.
Right. But what it does is open up a subset of tools that let you
Yes.
go get information and depositions and so on. Yes, the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. So again, the people who put that forward are suggesting that, but they're doing a different thing, which is they are busily collecting evidence against these right-wing organizations and pointing out the FBI is not going to go in there because the FBI is afraid of nonsense about First Amendment and so forth and so on and so on.
Parties aren't constrained.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what they're saying is in the coming weeks, we're going to be publishing on our website the information about where these hate crimes happened, when they happened. So we'll be specific about, well, like last year, the Pride mural in Olympia, Washington was destroyed. It involved Patriot Front members from 3 states who planned this out, who documented it themselves, who are known. And if the police aren't going to go after them, district attorneys can.
Yep.
And so can attorneys that represent vulnerable communities,
Yeah.
Fair.
right? So they're going at them both ways, but they're pointing out, right, to the extent that this, that it really is a grift, right? that there's an underlying financial crime,
Yeah.
then RICO makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And it lets you walk in and essentially seize everything
Yeah.
and work outward from there.
It's basically asset forfeiture, but for corporations, right?
Yeah.
The amount of power it brings to bear for the state is huge.
Yep.
And it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because it does genuinely acknowledge the fact that not only was its original founding intent criminal, that makes everything else it did.
Mhm.
Every time it mailed a thing, that's
Yeah.
mail fraud. Every
Yes.
time they made a phone call, that's wire fraud.
Right.
Right.
So, if you got people out there raising money for Looney Tune right-wing stuff,
It's the problem about the Republicans fall down and look hurt better than any four guys I know.
well, they're excellent at whining.
Absolutely. But you remember when it came out that the IRS was investigating all of the Tea Party groups because abso-fucking-lutely it should have?
Yes.
You told me a political brand who
Yeah.
we just spent a year discussing all of the ways that corporate funding got easier for, and yeah, we're talking about the people who steal IRS accounts to get refunds and stuff.
Yeah.
They're really good at this.
Yep.
So of course we should have. If Democrats had had a bumper crop year, I'd have wanted them looked at heavily.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Boomer Rex is about damn time. I need some good news.
Oh, I just love this. So we've got Peter Navarro, who's been indicted by a grand jury. He was arrested at the airport. Has maintained ever since that he was representing himself. Explained he'd rather represent himself because he doesn't want to waste his retirement on lawyers and so forth and so on. So the trial is set for Navarro to appear in July. But Navarro explains he still doesn't have a lawyer. Well, you said you didn't want a lawyer, so that's not a big deal.
Odd to, if this is a delaying tactic, it didn't delay for long.
No, and I don't think it's going to work. So he complained to the judge that the prosecution is moving forward too fast, despite the fact he doesn't have a lawyer. You've already told the judge you were representing yourself. Fuck you. But again, it's all of this is the point. The prosecution's going to push for a speedy trial. They got you dead to rights, dude.
Yeah.
And you should probably go get a lawyer. But if you decide not to, that's just too fucking bad. But the other thing it points out that, I'm sorry. Peter Navarro wears clown shoes, right? He's the clown in every little county fair, right, that walks around and, makes a big deal of himself, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he's going to turn whatever happens into a carnival.
So one of the nice things about all of this, one of the things that makes it easier to sleep at night is how dumb these people are at it. Because imagine if you were Peter Navarro. This is so much easier to steal the news cycles and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Right, if you're playing the whole board. Right. He wants to make this absolutely a mockery. I don't know, when's the last time somebody flipped a table in federal court?
Yeah. Well, I'm quite sure that he's going to do lots of carnival stuff.
Now, who in the Chicago, is it 7?
I don't remember.
Anyway, no, there's ways you can make this crazy.
Yeah.
And that will steal, because I don't know about everyone else, but I'm looking forward to the January 6th hearings.
Oh,
yeah.
God,
This is going to be fun.
Sorry.
We should probably do our show early tomorrow so we can watch.
Yeah.
Oh, true. What time does it come on?
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's 5 p.m. here.
Yeah. I don't know how long they are.
Okay, well, so we may skip tomorrow's show. We'll see. We'll find out.
Think about that.
Or you guys could do a show on the game.
Or we can do it later. Who knows?
True.
We'll figure it out.
Who knows how late it'll run. So anyway, let's see, where were we? Dumbass du jour. So, Pastor Dylan Awas, I'm sorry, but I am getting fucking sick and tired of fucking, quote, clergy, right? Believers in big galwad
No, and the worst
suggesting
part
that
is
people I love should be killed.
These people cannot even read their own fucking book, and it's obnoxious as shit.
Yeah. So anyway, so this Pastor Dylan Oz of the Steadfast Baptist Church in Hurst, Texas, had a very specific call for violence against LGBTQ people in his sermon. He says, the solution for the homosexual.
Oh,
So now we have, again, this is just the Nazis, right? This is their version of the final solution. So fuck them all. But
again, he says, okay, quote him and then we'll discuss, because this is ridiculous.
so, here's his final solution for the homosexual. What does God say is the answer? Is the solution for the homosexual in 2022? Here in the New Testament, in the book of Romans, is they are worthy of death. These people should be put to death. Every single homosexual should be charged with the crime of abomination of homosexuality. And they should be convicted, and they should be sentenced with death. And then they should be lined up against a wall and shot in the back of the head. And that's what God teaches.
Sure.
Yeah.
God, I'm gonna.
No. This whole concept that God has any fucking, or the Bible says anything about homosexuality or LGBTQ in 2022
Yeah.
is insane. Because no, it doesn't. This
No,
has
I
nothing to do
understand.
with today's day and
Well,
age.
take him totally at his word. Everyone's allowed their own God. Just you should understand that your God's also, if you're going to follow him down that path, likely to get members, humans you know, turned into leather sock puppets.
Yep. So you don't like it, then you don't like God's word, because that is what God says.
I don't like your God's word. No,
If this
fuck
is your
off.
God's word, bring him on. Let's fight about it.
I will fight your God, and he
Yeah.
will die, and I will giggle.
When you
Our
come for my
species
family
had
members,
burned temples before.
you
No,
will
this is-
regret it. But
So-
not for long.
When it comes to, tonight I didn't really do a burned it all down because Assel and I were dying of heat today. We are under a heat advisory for the next, until Sunday. Extreme heat advisory. So it's only going to get hotter.
You know, you're always welcome to come over here where it's cool and just sleep on the floor.
Sure.
And
You might want to bring.
we might end up doing that tomorrow. But
Yeah.
anyway, the point is that this is truly a burn it all down moment. Like I didn't need to do something. It was already built into what we were going to talk about today
Yeah.
already. So my point is that these people are bad people.
Yes.
And they should all be concerned about repercussions. The fact that they're not is more disturbing than the fact that they're running their mouths.
It's the most tragic part of all of this is they can't imagine how quickly the world they're talking about would degenerate because they don't need it. Right? They'd be fine if someone else did it, right? But
Well,
they're
and
not-
I suspect they're kind of sort of secretly
I-
hoping someone else will.
absolutely.
I
Right?
just
So there was another pastor who said that all the homosexuals should be killed before Christmas.
Right. And I
so
just
fuck
wanna-
them all.
Yeah.
Again, when you come for a member of my family,
Yeah.
you're going to regret it briefly.
Fuck it. I'm, part of this community, and you can all fuck right off. But my point is that what people really need to consider when they're listening to people like this is, I was raised Roman Catholic. I was never taught that this was anything
I know.
part of,
Protestantism.
because it's not. My point is it's not in the Bible anywhere. And they're going to quote these parts that are like the Sodom and Gomorrah, which is kind of weird because there's some weird stuff going on in Sodom and Gomorrah, but it's not about homosexuals. It's about an entire city of like people who were a little weird, and they did something bad to an angel, and then God said, fuck off. But it has nothing to do with homosexuality, is my point. Like as a main
and remember
thing.
that what they're saying has nothing to do with religion.
Yeah.
Right? These are, quote, Christian nationalists, and what they're saying has nothing to do with the Bible.
No,
Absolutely
it
nothing.
offends me on so many levels. I'm not Roman Catholic anymore, as you all well know, but I have certain, good thoughts from, what I learned, right? I learned to be a reasonable person, fine. But I would have learned that without it. But the point is that this is taking something that could be good and okay for some people and turning it into, we got to murder people. Why?
It's the
Why?
naked face of evil.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no.
In the
Evil
name
is-
of Galwad.
Yes. No. That is worse than evil, because I don't really believe in good and evil. Like, that's really just a concept. Like, my version of evil might be different than someone else's. So evil is more of an
I
opinion.
think there are some lines that, like,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
No,
But
I think
There are
that
some hard
certain
and fast,
lines-
good and evil.
Yeah, no, I
No
think there are certain
trouble at all.
lines that 98% of people are going to be like, yeah, that's too far. I'm going to say that there's not enough people who look at this as evil to make me comfortable. Does that make sense? There's not enough people who consider these types of statements evil that I can feel okay that society's going to beat these
Well,
people
and
down.
it's why our rules for incitement are the way they are, because that hovers about where, in the aggregate, everyone feels that rule ought to be. That unless you're effectively at the end of someone's driveway offering to rent out weapons, you're probably not incitement. But no,
So the one thing I guarantee you is that if Jesus had been at your sermon, he'd have spit in your face and walked away.
Yeah.
Or he'd have made you wish you were money changers.
My point is this is all a grift. That's all it is. It's
Yeah.
another
Oh,
way
yeah.
to get people riled up about something that's not a problem.
that's
Well,
actually part of the problem for the nonsense ones, is
if-
they have to be like this.
And we talk about this regularly on the show. If you're LGBTQ, then great. If you're not,
Great.
it doesn't affect you in any way whatsoever. Back the fuck up.
Yeah.
If you're out there having 5, 6 babies because you don't believe in abortion and birth control, that doesn't affect me at all. You do you. Enjoy.
Yeah.
But if I want to get an abortion because my baby's fucked up or I might die, then who are you to tell me I can't? It doesn't affect you.
It's not them that are
any
telling you,
way.
it's their Galwad.
Right?
But my point is that this is not. It doesn't matter. I don't give a fuck what you think, and you don't give a fuck what
Or
I
believe.
think.
I agree.
Why are we discussing this?
Because they don't believe in an unobtrusive government.
Right.
No,
They didn't
and
make these decisions based on having looked at the other forms of government
Right.
and going, how do you actually control a band of humans worth talking about?
Yeah.
no, but we are aggressively becoming a band of humans not worth fucking talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is bullshit. So anyway, I'm sorry, I stole your story, but yeah, no, this is my
No,
burn
that's
it all
fine.
down
I'm-
Wednesday. Fuck it.
Absolutely.
So which is worse, when generals are fucking it up or when pastors are fucking it up?
Oh, I think they're kind of equal. They both dishonored themselves in ways that are difficult to express.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I finally landed on pastors simply because at some level, right?
They affect more people. They
Um,
reach more people.
I could care less about that. I expect generals to be good at doing some of the like martial things, and some of those just involve doing the thing and right, wrong, morality. A lot of that doesn't fucking matter.
Okay.
We're just bigger than that, right? That there is a
Right. But the
a basic-
pastor,
is
is
isn't
supposed to be.
supposed to be
I agree.
in the land of force continuums and
Yeah.
And again, we talked very recently about a pastor who got, no longer, his church is no longer tax exempt due to political whatevers. I would consider anti-LGBTQ a political standpoint. So I think that all of these churches that push anti-LGBTQ,
be
ideals
taxed.
should be removed
I think if
and should not be allowed to
people
be
live
tax
near
exempt.
churches that do, they should start getting video and start asking questions.
Yeah.
All for it.
So next up is the GOP lawmaker who claims them damn smartphones is what's causing mass shootings.
See, I saw this headline and I didn't read it because I got all of my teeth in the heat.
I know. So what he says guns have always been readily available, but mass shootings and particularly mass shootings of schools were non-existent or extremely rare until they've become a grisly recent phenomenon. So what changed? Well, there's been a noticeable breakdown of the family. There's an erosion of faith, and there's been a seismic drop in social interaction in large measure due to the overuse of these damn smartphones and the proliferation of social media, which is probably better described as antisocial media. Okay.
This is the man covered in shit problem. Because fucking I agree with like the last bit of that, And the rest is dumb. And I know
No,
that.
the rest of it's exactly the same words,
Yeah.
right? The erosion of faith, right? The church used to provide these social opportunities that were useful,
Sure.
right?
They
Hell of a
do.
price.
Extended families provided these social interactions and so forth. But, and he's right, that part of the problem is the increase in social isolation.
Yeah.
Yes and no.
Weeds has the best speech about anti-weed speech I've ever heard about, right, being ever more in a world defined by yourself and your own interests and leaving
Yeah.
smaller and smaller room for others.
Right.
Which is a genuine concern with social media and several others.
Absolutely.
One of the better arguments I've heard is one of the things we haven't addressed with I think millennials may be the first ones, but there may be some very young Gen Xers who had social interactions on these video game servers with people they formed genuine friendships with.
Oh yeah.
As far as we can tell, based on how humans form friendships, right?
Right.
You cooperated, you did stuff, you worried about them, you did a
Yep.
lot of really deep, like monkey programming
Mhm.
stuff in terms of, right, building concern and all of that. And then eventually the game got too old and the servers shut down.
Yeah.
And so we have created...
It's like moving, right? Which is
it's like
insanely
being a
stressful.
refugee
Okay.
is the closest
Yep.
we can find.
Okay.
Because moving, there's at least a plan.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, and I've seen guilds move coordinatedly to other games when
Yep.
we knew server shutdown was impending.
Yeah.
But,
No,
Anyway,
and
interesting.
Yeah.
I actually, one of my good friends that I'm still in touch with now, I met online when I was like 16, and I think I met him through a friend that I had met through another friend, and anyway, we became really close and kept in touch over the years, and now we stay in touch via Facebook and occasionally call each other, that sort of thing. But I was able to meet this person because of the internet, and I would never know he exists. I went out to visit him one time. He came out to visit me one time, and you know, he's a great guy. But it's one of those weird situations where I can see where, like, you know, like you said, when it comes to like gamers and stuff, like back when I used to be a gamer, you'd meet people that you would play with regularly, that sort of thing, and as the, you know, game kind of eroded, you'd hope to run across them in the next one.
well, and part of that had a natural gatekeeping to it that a lot of why isn't great. But for me, the internet is formed as this weird two-limbed tree of the good parts of the internet and the bad parts of the internet.
Yep.
And they've always existed. The real question is, right, it's the bad turn of the whichever one you feed more.
Yeah.
And now that the internet's exploded, and we've got a million more devices than we did when I was growing up.
Yes.
That's probably not great.
No?
No, but I think that
It comes with inherent costs.
Yeah.
It's more in routes for the recruiters for the bad parts of the internet, right?
Yep.
The Clan version 2.0 went digital. We
Yep.
know these kids are getting
Yes.
recruited on the internet, and it's the
Absolutely.
for me, it's the dumb pattern of radicalization that follows the right. You start making the jokes ironically at first, right? There isn't any ironic racism. It's one of the things that white dudes have a hard time with when they know they're like a good ally, or at least right which
Yeah.
side of this argument they're on. There's a tendency to use words and phrases for shock value because we know we don't think that,
Right.
and that's cool, but that isn't true for anyone else.
Right.
no, and I went out of my way to keep my son off the internet as long as I possibly could.
Yep.
I allowed him to play games and stuff, but I said you're not allowed to talk to other people. You're not allowed to whatever. And eventually I got to the point where I was like, all right, you're going to be playing games where you're going to be speaking to other people and stuff. You do not give them your real name. You do not tell them where you live. You do not give them information, but fine, you know, because he was getting to an age where, you know, you're going to... I was meeting people much younger than him online and chatting with them for hours for no reason. And but again, it's a different world, and I don't know.
It's the same
I'm
world. There's
torn.
less places to hide.
Right.
Right?
Well, and
I
there are
think it
more.
depends on what you're using.
There are more avenues
it
for
for.
communication, every one of which has its group of pedophiles or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
No, and again, I, you know, have always been very strict with my son about being careful about these sorts of things. But I had to learn that myself,
Yes.
right? Because our parents didn't know anything
None of
about
it.
this.
It's one of the things where the internet genuinely is, right? It is not a branch of previous telecommunication. It is a new whole ass thing. In the same way radio was and television was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That it completely fundamentally changed stuff.
Yep.
No, and I'll say that me and my girlfriends had a rule that if we met a guy online,
Yep.
and this was before dating services online and stuff, but if we met a guy online and one of us, we decided, hey, I want to go meet him, we would go with no less than 3.
Yep.
We would always go in groups of 3, so that if anything went south, we could take him, and 2 of us would deal with the guy, and the other one would call the cops, and that was the plan.
Yep.
So, I mean, the fact that we figured that out on our own, and I had to explain to my son that you're not allowed to meet people online, period, end of discussion, until you're like 18, and then go in groups. Never meet people alone. It's just dangerous as shit.
Yeah.
But anyway, so let's move on to updates with BoomerRex health threats.
So anyway, the World Health Organization is not yet recommending mass vaccinations against monkeypox. No kidding. Really? However, they point out that there is a risk of monkeypox becoming established in what were previously non-endemic countries, right? So it will be interesting to watch as we go along, right? It's a zoonotic disease. It's endemic to humans in 9 African countries. But we now have outbreaks in a range of countries, and the question is, right, is there anything it can attach itself to, right, that would let it return to its zoonotic nature, right, harbored in animals,
Yeah.
right, and waiting for human beings? So, domestic cats would be a really good choice. So, anyway,
All right.
and I got nothing on climate, Rudy.
I saw you had, but it's nothing new. Okay.
Nothing.
Cool. All right, so sorry that I didn't do any, but again, Asshole and I were fucking just dying to...
Plus, internet, you know all the reasons.
And you got your Burn It Down Wednesday.
Yeah, no, that worked out really fucking well. I was really happy when I saw that. I was like, sweet, I can
All right,
use
in the
that.
absence of a reason to burn it down, and I'll give you one good reason not to. The people who will end up in charge after you get rid of 911 are the people currently closest positioned to either large groups of organized humans or groups predisposed sounds rude.
To
Already
violence and
prepared to
crime.
violence. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, if you want warlords,
Yeah.
go right
and,
ahead and burn it down, because that's what you're going to get.
If you want to go back to fearing highwaymen and full moons.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't ruin my burn it down segment.
I'm
Fuck
not.
you both.
Yeah,
You didn't have one, so I gave them a reason not to.
there you go.
That's how you end up with 30 theocratic kingdoms scattered across the whatever.
Absolutely.
That's how you end up in fights at a time and age when we've made a lot of really scary science available to kind of whoever wants to learn how to do the thing before that.
Yeah.
All right, so my real point when I do these Burn It Down Wednesdays is that I'm trying to light a fire under people's asses. No, I know you weren't, but I want to make sure that our viewers that my point is that what we need to fix these things, or it is going to burn down, and we might as well just add to the fire.
That we are
There's
lighting
no
enough
stopping it.
individual fuses
Yes.
in just our cold indifference.
Yep.
That
Yes.
sooner or later someone's going to get really angry about something,
Yeah.
and we haven't seen anything yet in terms
No.
of violence.
No.
No, not no.
No,
And
not
anyway.
even a start.
And we are talking, some of the problems we are talking about will affect large enough areas that you might actually get a cell of violence, and that is a thing we haven't seen.
Yep.
You could point to 9/11 if you didn't know a lot about terrorism, but yeah.
But I will leave you all on this last piece. If you know, are friends with, or love a person who is LGBTQ, all of this should be much scarier for you than it is for a lot, because the LGBTQ community, I promise you, we are scared. We are concerned. And we understand that some of these things are a little bit out of our control, because the main component of these aggressive people who are aggressively against LGBTQ are pushing wrong and misinformation, disinformation, and all that shit to make us look like we're the bad people, when in reality, they are the enemy. They are the bad people, and they are trying to do everything in their power to keep the rest of us down.
Don't side with the fucking sex police.
Understand that the sex police are not your friends.
Yep.
And on that note, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, heart, follow, review. Go to BoomerRexTonight, no spaces on Facebook for fun memes and a link to our Patreon. Give us $1. You can find us on YouTube as BoomerRex, or check your favorite podcasting service for BoomerRexTonight. We can be found on over a dozen different platforms, including Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Samsung Podcasts. And hit us up on Twitter at BoomerRexTonight. Don't forget, you can go to Google. You can Google BoomerRexTonight, no spaces, and all links will lead you to us. We love you all very much, especially our LGBTQ and our LGBTQ allies. And we will see you all back here tomorrow at some point, maybe on BoomerRex Tonight.
We screwed up during the recording. Listen for it near the Venus parts.
Yeah, it'd be funny.